Hello, I'm Kieran Lynch and welcome to OviCast, the Teagasc Sheep podcast. Each episode will bring you latest insights, advice and technical updates for the sheep industry. We're joined by Teagasc Grass10 advisor Niamh Doyle to give us a monthly update on grazing management tips for the month ahead. Niamh discusses the closing plan on farms with us, grazing conditions at the moment and the impact the re-grazing paddocks at the moment can have on spring growth. We discuss the variation in performance of individual fields on the farms and some investments to improve productivity next year. We hear now from Niamh.
Yes, so Kieran, as we approach year end, the good grazing conditions and improved growth rates this autumn have allowed flocks to stay grazing and stretch supply. The regrowth on closed paddocks has been very good. However, it is vital you stay on track with your closing plan to provide good opening covers this spring for ewes and lambs post turnout. Something to note there is that grass quality will decline if conditions change, and it will reduce that farm cover quickly.
Niamh, that delay, if you graze a paddock now, how far does that set you back next April or next March, April?
So every week that ground continues to be grazed in December will reduce grass availability next April by 150 kilos dry matter per hectare, which will have a big impact on supply.
So we look at the demand and the return we're going to get. It's certainly more beneficial to us next April, next March, April, when we've ewes at lambs a foot than it is now.
Yes, exactly. And like a ewe's energy demand next spring after lambing will be 2.5 to 3 times higher than their current requirement. So if supplementation is needed, it is easier to meet ewes' feed requirements at this point of the season. Look, I suppose looking at the closing plan then, as we approach mid-December, March lambing flocks should aim to have 80% of the farm closed, with the remainder closed by late December/early January. Final 20% to be grazed are the areas that will be grazed last next spring.
I suppose too, Niamh, we could add into those areas, maybe if you had fields destined for reseeding or otherwise, they could be areas you could supplement out on.
Yes, exactly. So like, as you said, if there is a paddock there that you can reseed, look, if weather conditions change, you'd be better off to damage a paddock that you're going to reseed next year than be sacrificing a good paddock.
Niamh, as we approach the tail end of the season, I think it's fair to say right across the sector, it has been a difficult grazing year. It's not a bad idea this time of the season, maybe look back at the year and review what areas did well, what areas didn't do well, because there's always that variation on farm, and I'm sure you've seen that.
Yes, we have seen it on farm, Kieran, and I think it is a good point that we do review the year and identify them fields that did underperform. Like look at fields and maybe, for example, their silage yield was back on them, or and it's important to identify options then to improve that performance on these paddocks, whether that is reseeding or improving soil fertility. And improving that soil fertility, particularly soil pH, will improve nutrient use, efficiency and grass production on the farm. I suppose there is that paddocks that did underperform, but we have to take note of the paddocks that did perform, and they are bringing up that overall grass production on your farm. So it is important that you do focus on identifying why these paddocks are not underperforming, because the grass production and the return that you will get from your good paddocks, as you can see, is much more beneficial long term in terms of grass production.
Niamh, that probably leads us into the final part is, like, if we think about the investments that we might need to make for next year, and just exactly what you touched on, whether it be soil testing, look, we'll probably cover that in January, fencing, lime on these paddocks. They're the kind of investments that will yield a very quick return.
Exactly, and it's important that you do start planning now during the winter period, that if you are going to invest in something on the TAMS application, it's back open again in January, get that application in. If you're going to spend time maybe on, or spend money on fencing or anything like that, it's important to plan it now. And also, I suppose, check your existing soil sample results or arrange new ones to be collected if needed. There's great conditions there at the moment for soil sampling, so take that opportunity now to get soil samples taken.
Niamh, just in terms of things we could do maybe a little differently next year or focus more on our grazing management, is there anything you'd recommend?
I suppose like one of the things is like, look, it is hard to get farmers measuring, but one thing I suppose is take note of how many times you graze your field. Whether that is every time the sheep go in or whatever, just write it down in a notepad or that, and it will give you a good indication then how paddocks are performing and where then you can make improvements next year in terms of grass production. So I suppose like, look, if we look at pasture-based data, like look, some fields are getting grazed 8 or 9 times and other fields are getting 5 or 6. So if you're getting that lower number of grazings on a field, it is important then that maybe you might think of this as an investment next year then in terms of soil fertility or reseeding.
So even on a simple level, it's just something you can record in the dairy. How many times do we graze it? And might actually, even if we put it in on the day in the dairy, we get an idea how long we're spending that paddock as well.
Exactly, that is another good point in what, your pre-grazing yield then, and you can work it off that.
Niamh, look, thanks very much for that. We'll chat to you again in January.
Thanks very much, Kieran, and I suppose Happy New Year to everyone and Happy Christmas.
We'll leave it there for this week's episode. Again, for anyone who wants to subscribe to the Grass10 newsletter, I have included a link in the show notes where you can do that and get the weekly update from them. That's it for me. For updates from our sheep programme, keep an eye on our Twitter page at Teagasc Sheep. I'm Kieran Lynch. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts.